Let's explore loops in C# and learn how to repeat tasks efficiently with for, while, and do-while loops. In programming, loops let us repeat a block of code multiple times until a condition is met. This reduces the need for repetitive code. First, let's look at the for loop. It's perfect when you know how many times you want the loop to run. In this example, the loop runs 5 times, printing the current value of I from 0 to 4. Next, we have the while loop. This runs as long as the condition remains true. In this example, the loop continues until the counter reaches 5. The do-while loop is similar to while, but it always executes the code at least once, regardless of the condition. Here, the loop runs once, even though the condition is false from the start. Be careful with loops. If the condition never becomes false, you can create an infinite loop. Use break to exit a loop when necessary. You can also use continue to skip to the next iteration. This skips the value 3, but continues with the rest of the loop. That's how you use loops in C#. Practice these to handle repetitive tasks in your programs. Let's learn about arrays in C#, one of the most useful data structures for storing collections of items. An array is a collection of elements of the same type stored in a fixed-size block of memory. You can use arrays to store multiple values in a single variable. Here's how to declare and initialize an array. Let's create an array of integers. You can also declare an array and assign values later. For example, creating an array that can hold 3 integers and then setting values for each position. Accessing an element in an array is simple. You use an index to refer to the position of the element. The first element is at index 0. In this example, we print the first number and the second age stored in our arrays. You can use loops to go through all elements of an array. Here's how you can use a for loop to iterate through each element. This will print each element in the array one by one. You can also modify the elements of an array. For example, updating the third element to a different value. This updates the third element in the array to the new value. That's how you work with arrays in C#. Try creating and manipulating your own arrays for practice. Let's dive into using lists in C#, a flexible alternative to arrays for managing collections of data. A list is a dynamic collection that can grow and shrink in size. It provides more functionality compared to arrays. To declare and initialize a list, you use the list class. For example, creating a list of numbers with initial values or starting with an empty list and adding items later. Adding and removing elements in a list is straightforward. For example, you can add an item to the end or remove the first occurrence of a specific item. Accessing and modifying elements is similar to arrays, but lists also provide extra methods for flexibility. For instance, printing the first element and then changing the second element to a new value. Here are some common list methods you might use, like checking if an item is in the list, sorting the list alphabetically, or reversing the order of elements. That's an overview of using lists in C#. Experiment with these features to better manage your collections of data. Let's explore dictionaries in C#, a powerful way to store data using key-value pairs. A dictionary is a collection that stores data in pairs, where each key is unique and maps to a value. It's ideal for scenarios where fast lookups are needed. To declare and initialize a dictionary, you use the dictionary class, where the key represents one type of data and the value is another. For example, creating a dictionary where names are keys and ages are values. Adding items to a dictionary is easy with the add method, and you can access items using the key. Here, we add a new entry and retrieve a value using a key. To remove an item, use the remove method. You can also check if a key exists using contains key. This removes an entry and checks for the presence of a key. To iterate through the dictionary, use a loop to access each key and its corresponding value. That's an overview of dictionaries in C#. They're perfect for efficient data lookups and management. Give them a try in your projects. Let's dive into methods in C#, a fundamental way to create reusable and organized code. A method is a block of code that performs a specific task. Methods help keep your code modular and reusable. Here's how to define a basic method. Let's create a method that prints a greeting. This method, greet, doesn't take any parameters and doesn't return a value. To use the method, you call it by its name followed by parentheses. Here we call the greet method to execute the code inside it. Methods can also take parameters and return values. Let's create a method that adds 2 numbers. The add method takes 2 parameters and returns their sum. We then print the result. That's a quick overview of methods in C#. Try creating and using your own methods to improve code reusability. Let's dive into method overloading in C#, a powerful feature that allows you to define multiple methods with the same name but different parameters. Method overloading is the ability to create multiple methods with the same name but different parameter lists. It improves code readability and usability. Here's a basic example of method overloading. We'll create two methods with the same name but different parameter lists. In this example, display is overloaded to handle both int and string parameters. Let's extend this with methods that have different numbers of parameters. Here, printinfo is overloaded to handle one or two parameters, demonstrating different parameter counts. Method overloading is useful for operations that can logically be performed with different types or numbers of inputs. For example, you might use method overloading to handle different types of data or to provide multiple ways to perform a task. That's a quick overview of method overloading in C#. Try overloading methods in your own code to make it more flexible and readable. Let's explore recursion in C#, a technique where methods call themselves to solve problems. Recursion is a programming technique where a method calls itself to solve smaller instances of the same problem. It's useful for problems that can be divided into similar subproblems. Here's a simple example of recursion. We'll write a method to calculate the factorial of a number. The factorial method calls itself with a decremented value until it reaches the base case. Base cases are crucial in recursion. They prevent infinite recursion by providing a condition to stop the recursive calls. In the factorial example, the base case is when n is less than or equal to 1. Let's look at another example, the Fibonacci sequence. Each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. The Fibonacci method calls itself twice to calculate the Fibonacci number for n. That's an introduction to recursion in C#. Try implementing your own recursive methods and see how they can simplify complex problems.